Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Munira Hussain from Mata Jijabai Government Girls PG College, Indore. Today we are going to talk on the module soaking, germination and fermentation of pulses from paper Food Science. Dear students, in cooking foods, we often require some preliminary pre-preparations to facilitate fast and better cooking. Similarly, these pre-preparations also alters their biophysical properties and improves nutritive value and also brings eliminations naturally occurring toxicants in the food. Among these pre-preparations, soaking, germination and fermentation are some of the major aspects often used in food preparation. The objectives of these modules are to know about the basic principles of soaking, germination and fermentation of pulses, to identify the importance of soaking, germination and fermentation of pulses, to understand methods of soaking, germination and fermentation of the pulses, and to learn the application of soaking, germination and fermentation of pulses in cooking. So students, let us start with the basics of the soaking, germination and fermentation of pulses. As you know, cereal grains make one of the most important dietary source of proteins, carbohydrates and vitamin, minerals and fiber in human nutrition. Grains, mainly wheat and pulses, are widely used for fermentation. Fermentation is a biochemical process in which the primary food matter is modified by microorganisms and their enzymes due to their metabolic activities. For cereals are also deficient in some basic components, mainly in essential amino acids. Fermentation is used a simple and economical method for improving sensory properties, nutritional value, preservation and functional qualities of these cereal grains and pulses. In addition, during fermentation of probiotics or live microorganisms can increase the nutritional quality and shelf life of the fermented food products. Dear students, it is commonly known that grains is in their protein quality in comparison to animal proteins. Besides containing a considerably low concentration of protein, as such, the protein is also don't contain a good balance of essential amino acids. This curtails their efficient use in the body unless a separate source of limiting amino acid is eaten or added along with them. The main limiting amino acid in grains is lysine. Legumes are rich in lysine, that is why cultures around the world use them in combination with grains. Bacterial fermentation produces lysine, which also increases its concentration by many folds, thus making grains proteins nearly a complete protein that almost matches the ideal balance of essential amino acids as of animal proteins. Fermentation also increases the amino acid methionine concentration and some vitamins in the pulses. Students, not only the amino acid composition but pulses protein is poorly digested than animal proteins, leading to a lower nutritive value and a higher risk of getting allergy caused by undigested protein which remains hanging around the digestive tract. Cooking alters fermentation, increases the digestibility of the grain protein, bringing it nearly to the same level of the meat. This may bring forth by the destruction of the protease inhibitors such as trypsin inhibitors. phytic acids and the partial pre-digestion of the grain proteins by fermenting bacteria. So students, you can now understand that processing of the pulse is of prime importance in improvement of their nutritive value. Soaking, sprouting and fermentation are the three most widely used processing methods of pulses, which have some very important advantages like a decrease in cooking time and fuel requirement, enrichment of the diet through development of variety of flavors, aromas and diversified textures in food substances. It induces food preservation in substantial amounts through production of lactic acid, alcohol, acetic acid and alkaline fermentations. Fermentation gives biological enrichment of the food substances by increasing in amounts of proteins, essential amino acids and vitamins. It induces elimination of the anti-nutrients present naturally in the grains. So students, you are now well aware that these three processes are very beneficial in pulses and legume cookery. Let's start understanding them individually. In this context, first comes soaking. Soaking grains, beans, legumes, nuts and seeds is a customary practice which brings about positive impact of nutritional qualities of these foods in human consumption. Grains, beans, legumes, nuts and seeds can all added great value and variety in the diet. However, they contain anti-nutrients, particularly phytates and enzymes inhibitors which detract from their nutritive value. These foods should be prepared in a manner that maximizes nutrient density by mitigating the effects of anti-nutritional factors present naturally in them. So, soaking grains overnight is an effective method which is traditionally used for enhancing the nutrient profile of the foods. This method is consistently used among people who adhere to traditions, and it is also a customary method of preparing native unprocessed foods. So students, in this way soaking has many advantages like soaking increases absorption of minerals, phytic acids and other anti-nutrients present in pulses and legumes, inhibits mineral absorption. Phytic acid actually blocks absorption of important minerals like calcium and zinc. Phytic acid occurs primarily in seeds, coats and germs of plant seeds. It forms insoluble compounds with minerals including magnesium and zinc, calcium and iron in such a way that they cannot be efficiently absorbed into the blood. Diets rich in phytic acid content are poor in these minerals produce mineral deficiency symptoms in experimental animals. Fermentation induces breakdown in phytic acids. Soaking grains, beans, legumes, nuts and seeds is a customary practice which brings about positive impact in the nutritional qualities of these foods in human consumption. Grains, legumes, beans, nuts and seeds can all add immense value and variety to the diet. However, they contain anti-nutrients, particularly phytic acid and enzyme inhibitors which inhibits their nutritive value. These foods should be prepared in such a manner that maximizes their nutrient density by mitigating the effect of these anti-nutrients. Soaking grains overnight seems to be an effective traditional method of enhancing the nutrient composition of these foods, and it is one method consistently used among peoples who follow to time honor and follow traditional methods of preparing native unprocessed foods. Next advantage is that soaking increases absorption of minerals, as it already discussed that pulses and legumes contains phytic acid and other anti-nutrients. Unless phytic acid is broken down, it is really blocks absorption of important minerals like calcium and zinc. Phytic acid is primarily present in the seed coats and germs of the plant seeds. It forms insoluble or nearly insoluble compounds with minerals including calcium, iron, zinc and magnesium in such a way that they cannot be effectively absorbed into the blood. Diets high in phytic acid and poor in these minerals causes mineral deficiency symptoms in experimental animals. Another important advantage of soaking is it activates enzymes. Enzymes are biological catalyzers required for the complete digestion of the protein, carbohydrates and fats. The physiology of vitamins, minerals and trace elements is also needed enzymatic interventions. Abundance of enzymes found in grains and legumes, seeds of all plants. However, in dry grains and seeds, enzymes are largely inactive due to presence of enzyme inhibitors until given moisture to become activated and cause germination. Due to these inhibitors, the seeds remain to last for years in soil without deteriorating while waiting for moisture. Enzymes inhibitors in some grains and legumes seeds such as trypsin inhibitor in raw soybeans and certain other beans and peas require inactivation either by heating or by other processes before they can be safely fed. However, heating, cooking and grinding processes can also inactivate some of the digestive enzymes within grains and seeds. Moreover, during germination and sprouting of grains and seeds, many of these enzymes inhibitors are effectively neutralized. Simultaneously, at the same time, the activity of beneficial plant digestive enzymes is greatly enhanced. Students, after going through the advantages of the soaking, we will now proceed to know about its procedure. In preparing pulses for consumption, soaking in water is often the first step in most methods of cooking. As we know, oligosaccharides of the raffinose family reduces efficiently by soaking. Soaking also reduces the amount of phytic acid in pulses in general practice. Soaking is usually carried out for 12 to 24 hours. Beyond that, fermentation begins, which some consider is a more complete way to pre-digest the grain and neutralizes anti-nutrients. The hydration of the grain result in reduction of the enzymes prohibitors in the grain due to its increased enzymatic action. In an acidic medium, as is the case when we soak grain in cultured dairy, the acids can help in breaking down anti-nutrients as well as fibers. So, students, it is all about soaking, its uses and its method of preparation. Now, we learn about sprouting. Sprouting is the method of germinating seeds like grains, pulses or legumes, which makes them suitable to be eaten. Raw or cooked germination or sprouts can be done at home or can be produced commercially. they are an important ingredient of the raw food diet and are much common in Eastern Asian countries. So at first we try to understand choosing seeds suitable for the sprouting. Dear students, in general all viable seeds can be used for sprouting, but all sprouts should not be eaten raw due to the presence of the naturally occurring toxicants which do not alter by sprouting. The most common food sprouts include pulses, legumes, peas of peas family like alfalfa, lentil, clover, chickpea, mung bean and soya bean, etc. Among cereals, sprouts of wheat, maize, corn, barley, rice, oats and rye are more commonly consumed. Similarly, the sprouting of some oilseeds like sesame, sunflower, peanut, hazel bean, linseed are also done. In brassica cabbage family, broccoli, cabbage, mustards, radish and turnip etc. are used for sprouting. The other vegetables and herbs like spinach, lettuce, lemon, grass also being consumed as sprouts. So, to select a good viable seed for sprouting is important. Now, I will make you understand the sprouting processes. Each seed requires its own ideal sprouting condition like moisture, temperature and time. As per atmospheric conditions, after 3 to 5 days, the sprouts grows to 5 to 8 centimeters or 2 to 3 inches in length and are suitable for consumption. Sprouts should be rinsed 2 to 4 times a day. Depending on the climate and the type of the seed, so to maintain sufficient moisture and prevent them from souring. If left longer, they can begin to develop leavers which known as baby greens. A popularly used baby green is sunflower which develops after 7 to 10 days. Refrigeration is needed to slow or halt the growth process of any sprout. An effective way to sprouting beans like lentil is in colanders. For that, soaking the bean in water for about 8 hours, then placing it in the colander is required. A colander kitchen sieve made in bowl shape having holes and food are rinsed and drained in it normally. Its perforation permits liquid to drain through and retaining the solids inside. Traditionally, colanders are made of a light metal. Nowadays, it is also available in plastics, ceramic, silicones and enamel ware. Now, I shall make you to learn about the sprouting techniques. Students, the legume or grains to be sprouted are placed in a large bowl by putting enough water in it so to become covered with water. Soaking for 8 to 12 hours just overnight works well. Then it drained in colander and rinse well with running water. Now it again drained and then placed on a plate to catch and drips and covers with a kitchen towel. It should be rinsed and drained in every 8 to 12 hours by gently shaking the colander a bit in such a way that all of the beans and getting wet. It's just a matter of waiting until little sprouts come out for both legumes and grains. Generally, big sprouts are not desirable as sprouts taste better when it is small. So, when sprouting starts to shoot out, rinsing one more time and leaving for another 8 to 12 hours to drain thoroughly, so as they should be dry in to touch in a better way to get good results. Then these sprouts should be refrigerated till use. Students, I hope you are enjoyed and learnt well this very interesting and important process of food science. To add on further, I bring in your knowledge that the colander method allows making sprout in large quantities very easily. Special containers are also available commercially, specifically for sprouting purposes. Another way of sprouting is to use the mason jar with inserted method, which is preferable to sprout even small seeds. Sprouting is also used for barley as a part of the malting process on large scale. Malted barley is an essential ingredient in beer making and is also in large quantities. Many varieties of nuts such as almonds and peanuts started in their growth cycle by soaking and sprouting. These are very minute sprouts. Generally, when eaten, they are usually called soaks. Students, after going through the details of the sprouting, I shall make you understand that sprouts can stale fast. The common cause for spoiling sprouts are seeds are not rinsed adequately before soaking, seeds are left standing in water after the initial soaking, seeds are permitted to dry out, inadequate temperature, dirty utensils, inadequate airflow, contaminated water source, poor germination rate. Now students, I shall explain the nutritional aspects of sprouting are sprouts are rich in digestion and digestible energy, bioavailable vitamins, minerals, proteins, amino acids and phytochemicals. As these are vital for a germinating plant to grow, these nutrients are essential for human health. The desirable changes in nutritional occur during sprouting are mainly due to the hydrolysis of the complex compounds into a more simple form. Breakdown of nutritionally undesirable constituents and conversion of essential constituents from other chemicals. The metabolic activity of inactive seeds increases as soon as they are hydrated during soaking. A complex biochemical change happens during hydration and subsequent sprouting. The reserves chemical constituents such as protein, starch and lipids are further broken down by enzymes into simple compounds and new compounds are also produced by this process. Sprouting grains causes enhanced activities of hydrolytic enzymes, improvements in the concentration of total proteins, fats, total sugars with certain essential amino acids, B group vitamins such as thiamine, riboflavin, niacin and so on, and a decrease in dry matter, starch and anti-nutrients. The increased contents of protein, fat, fiber and total ash are only noticeable and attributable to the disappearance of starch. However, improvements in amino acid composition, B group vitamins, sugars, proteins and digestibility of the starch and decrease in the amounts of phytates and proteases inhibitors are the main metabolic effects of the sprouting. Next function of the sprouting is that it increases protein quality by making many complex qualitative changes in the seeds. The conversion of proteins of cereal grains into albumins and globulins by sprouting improves the quality of cereal proteins. During sprouting, an increase in proteolytic activity is beneficial for nutritional improvement of cereals because it leads to hydrolysis of prolamines and the release of amino acids such as glutamic and proline, which are converted into limiting amino acids such as lysine. Dear students, another advantage of sprouting is that it increases the content of crude fibers. As you must study that crude fibers are normally a major component of cell wall, which increase both in percentages and real forms during sprouting due to the synthesis of structural carbohydrates, mainly of cellulose and hemicellulose. Increase of protein is not due to new protein being manufactured by the germination process, but by the wiping out of starch and conversion to fiber is increases the relative proportion of proteins. Next advantage of the sprouting is it increases the essential fatty acid content of the seeds. Increases lipolytic activity during germination and sprouting causes hydrolysis of constituents of the fatty acids and triglycerols into glycerol. Next function of sprouting is it increases vitamin content. The process of sprouting of grains generally improves in vitamin value, particularly the B group vitamins. Certain vitamins such as beta carotene, vitamin A precursor, alpha tocopherols, that is vitamin E, and are produced from their precursors during the sprout growth process. Another impact of sprouting is chelation of minerals when seeds are sprouted. Then minerals chelation or combined with protein is a way that enhance their functions. Dear students, in this way, if we compare between resting non-sprouted seeds to sprouted seeds, we find a huge increase in nutrients. Whereas if we compare with mature vegetables, the increase is less. However, a sprout just starting after in life is likely to have more nutrients in percentage wise than a mature vegetable. After going through the advantages of the sprouting, it is also important to understand its undesirable effects. Students, you should know that the phytic acid is the main storage form of phosphorus in grains. It is good for the grain that it contains phosphorus, but simultaneously there are one drawback along with it. Phytic acid also binds to many minerals such as zinc, magnesium, calcium and iron. And since non-ruminants don't possess phytase that digest phytic acid and releases the bound minerals for easy absorption. Thus, eating large quantities of phytate containing foods result in developing minerals deficiencies. Another limit of sprouting is the effect of enzyme inhibitors. Grains are seeds that require certain wet condition with rich nutrient for proper growth. Spontaneous germination is counterproductive process, so enzyme inhibitors prevent it. When moisture abundance with grain, like when soaking grains, the inhibitors are deactivated and sprouting occurs. There are certain other enzymes inhibitors which also inhibit our ability to digest the grains. Another disadvantage of sprouting is related to lectins, which are natural pesticides, help in protecting the tiny grain from predation. They can go through the intestinal lining and can cause disruption in immune system. And there are even proof that they bind to leptin receptors in the hypothalamus, potentially triggering leptin resistance. So students, that completes all about sprouting. Hope you have no doubts now about this wonderful aspect of food science. Now we shall proceed to learn about another important and wonderful process of food preparation, that is fermentation. Dear students, the term fermentation is specifically referred to the chemical hydrolysis of sugars into ethanol, a process which is used to produce alcoholic beverages like wine, beer and cider, etc. from food extracts. Fermentation is also used in the leavening of bread to carbon dioxide produced by yeast activity, and it is also used in preservation techniques to produce lactic acid in sour foods such as dye, sausages, yogurts, and is pickling of foods using vinegar. Students, let us have a brief historical background of the fermentation process. In 1856, a French chemist, Louis Pasteur, was the first known zymologist who connected yeast to fermentation. Pasteur originally defined fermentation as respiration without air. Pasteur conducted a research and concluded that the primary benefit of fermentation is the translation of sugars and other carbohydrates into organic acids, which acts the food preservation and prevents food spoilage. For example, converting fruit juice into wine, grain juice into beer, carbohydrates into carbon dioxide to leaven bread, and sugars of vegetables. Fermented foods are prepared from the raw component of the plant or animal sources, either by naturally or mixing it with the starter culture containing functional microorganism in which is responsible for modification of the substrates biochemically and also organoleptically into edible yield that are socially and culturally acceptable. Different types of plants and their parts are used in the starter culture preparation. Dear students, you must know that each fermented food has its own unique microflora, and this unique group of microflora is specific to each fermented food, increases the nutritional value by increasing the level of essential amino acids, vitamins, proteins and many more. Thus, fermented food plays a very important role in fulfilling the diet requirement of the world. So, after going through the basics of the fermentation, I shall explain the benefits of fermentation. First, we will discuss its effect on phytates. As you know, phytase is the enzyme that deactivates phytate and it's really get cooked during fermentation. The grains like wheat, rye and buckwheat, which contain high amounts of phytase, when a day of fermentation takes place in them, then it deactivates most of the phytate. To degrade the phytate in grains having low phytase grains, however, the fermentation time must be extended, adding small amounts of phytase grain to the mix also speed up the process. Increase in temperature also improves phytate breakdown process. In millet, a low phytase grain, it takes 72 hours for complete degradation of the phytate. Using a specific bacterial strain in wheat, it takes 10 hours to reach a maximum of 88.8% phytate reduction. The next advantage of fermentation is the effect on enzyme inhibitors. Students, fermentation also significantly reduces enzyme inhibitor activities. Fermentation has different effects on different enzymes inhibitors in different grains. In 24-hour sorghum fermentation, both trypsin inhibitor and amylase inhibitor, which hinder starch digestion, were reduced by up to 58% and 75% respectively. In millet, 48 hours fermentation was required to completely deactivate amylase inhibitor, which is naturally present in the seed. Overall, fermentation appears to be quite effective at reducing lectins, and cooking reduces them more. So, dear students, to summing up, we can say that soaked, sprouted and fermented grains are comparatively healthy choices to their original format. This simple processing neutralizes the enzyme inhibitors, degrades phytic acids and decreases the other compounds' deter digestion. Consequently, this process enhances the bioavailability of all the phytonutrients found inside the seeds. Soaking, fermenting and sprouting all induces seeds to begin their growth processes. Simultaneously deactivates the enzyme inhibitors which are no longer needed. When growth begins, the seed taps into phytic acid store, depleting it because it is acts as nutrient storage after harvesting and changing it into compounds the body can actually use. Though sprouts and fermented foods are not only easy to preserve but also have beneficial properties like they are more digestive and have pharmacological values too. Improved nutritional value, lending interesting flavors, enhancing the shelf life of the resultant foods and many more are other favorable functions of the fermentation. Thus, fermented foods play a vital socio-economic role in the developing world, and these kinds of fermented food products contribute to the nutritional requirement of the growing population. I hope you have enjoyed and learnt this module well. Thank you.